Shall we begin in 2 minutes? In 2 minutes, the gavel will be tapped and we will begin in 2 minutes. Shall we begin? Good morning. Please take seats. And I officially call the meeting of the General Committee on Political Affairs and Security to order. The agenda has been distributed. It is straightforward. Could I please invite you to adopt the agenda? Is anyone opposed to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted. After this morning's meeting, we will have 2 more scheduled meetings this afternoon and tomorrow. At this morning's meeting, we will try to make good progress on the consideration of the amendments to the draft resolution. I hope to conclude the consideration of the amendments to the draft this afternoon so we can move on to supplementary items. Thank you for your cooperation. We have 11 members who have signed up to speak in the debate on the draft resolution. The time limit for speeches is 3 minutes. If the debate drags on, we may be forced to reduce the time limit, but as for now, we can stay with the 3 minutes. At this point, I will give the floor to Mr. Davina of Italy, and he will be followed by Mr. Salimzoda of Tajikistan. So, Mr. Davina of Italy, you are recognized, sir.
Molto grazie, Presidente. Dunque, io vorrei sottolineare come spesso cadiamo in un errore di valutazione nel pesare delle situazioni identiche in modo diverso. Io apprezzo il lavoro fatto dalla relatrice, però diciamo la relazione è un po' manca d'attualità. Adesso mi spiego. Noi dobbiamo combattere tutti gli atti terroristici. Noi sappiamo che cos'è un atto terroristico, è un atto contro l'integrità fisica delle persone che viola ogni norma giuridica, ogni norma morale, eccetera. Quando un atto di questo tipo è perpetrato da uno Stato, addirittura da uno Stato che fa parte dell'Assemblea, di questa Assemblea, come lo dobbiamo definire? Io potrei spingermi fino a dire terrorismo di Stato. Qua si guarda con un occhio d'attenzione e di condanna quasi a prescindere nei confronti della Russia e non si guarda un altro Stato che 3 giorni fa ha usato artiglieria pesante bombardando villaggi di civili, e mi riferisco al villaggio di Al-Kanli nel distretto dei Fizuli in Azerbaigian, da parte delle forze armate armene, in violazione del cessate il fuoco, ribadito più volte con risoluzioni delle Nazioni Unite, di questa stessa assemblea. Non lo trovo in questa relazione, la trovo un po' miope o settoriale. Io vorrei dire, sono state, per chiudere, uccise persone anziani, donne, bambini. Non c'entra niente la guerra, non c'entra niente la questione militare qua. Secondo il mio punto di vista c'è la volontà armena di continuare a espandere l'influenza militare sui territori attigui del resto del Nagorno-Karabakh. E noi dovremmo essere estremamente attenti a queste cose. Si definisce annessione, per esempio, della Crimea condannando la Russia, ma qua ci dimentichiamo che veramente le cose sono completamente diverse. La Crimea, tra il resto, è sempre stata russa. In Crimea si è fatto un referendum popolare dove la stragrande maggioranza della popolazione ha deciso liberamente il proprio futuro. Noi continuiamo a condannare questa occupazione, che occupazione di fatto non è. Io richiamo, se posso, l'ufficio di presidenza a fare una cosa banale, no? Io dico una cosa banale, cioè rispettare il diritto internazionale. Se il diritto internazionale dice che esiste il diritto di autodeterminazione, beh, noi dobbiamo rispettare ciò che è successo in Crimea. Il popolo si è autodeterminato. Viceversa, qua dobbiamo condannare uno Stato che non rispetta le risoluzioni alle quali ha partecipato in questa assemblea, e ricordiamo che questa assemblea ha dato vita al gruppo di Minsk, il quale sta imponendo delle regole che nel caso armeno non sono assolutamente rispettate. Io direi tutto questo manca nella risoluzione, e per ribadire che si continua sulla politica di doppi standard. Applichiamo fino in fondo il diritto internazionale. Grazie.
Thank you. The next 3 speakers are Mr. Salimzodeh of Tajikistan, Mr. Hassanov of Azerbaijan, and Ms. Jackson Lee of the United States. Mr. Salimzodeh of Tajikistan.
Спасибо, уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Прежде всего хотел бы выразить признательность гостеприимным хозяевам, белорусской стороне, за создание отличных условий для проведения летной сессии Парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ. Транснациональная и организованная преступность, противодействие которым выходит на первый план повестки международной политики и рассматриваемые как проявление новых вызовов и угроз региональной и глобальной безопасности, превратились в один из основных факторов ухудшения политической и социально-экономической стабильности в обществе. Таджикистан в силу своего геополитического и геоэкономического положения все еще остается объектом посягательства международного терроризма. В этом плане серьезную угрозу безопасности представляет сохраняющаяся сложная военно-политическая ситуация в соседнем Афганистане, где действует ряд религиозно-экстремистских центров и организаций, лагерей террористических и диверсионных подготовок. Наблюдается устойчивая тенденция смекания терроризма с различными формами транснациональной преступности, незаконным оборотом наркотиков и оружия, как один из источников его финансирования, наемничеством, похищение людей и вербовки граждан. Исходя из этого, Республика Таджикистан последовательно и настойчиво выступает за энергичные коллективные усилия в области поддержания региональной и глобальной безопасности, активно участвует в коалиции стран, ведущих борьбу с международным терроризмом. Чрезвычайно актуальным с позиции противодействия терроризму становится прежде всего налаживание взаимного сотрудничества между парламентариями стран-участниц ОБСЕ, заинтересованных стран и максимальный учет рекомендаций в данной области, выработанных авторитетными международными организациями, прежде всего Организацией Объединенных Наций, Европейским Союзом и Парламентской Ассамблеей ОБСЕ. Чтобы не оказаться на периферии происходящих в мире событий, нам всем сообща следует оценивать уровень региональной безопасности на примере международного терроризма. В таком широком контексте, чтобы разрабатывать действенную стратегию борьбы и принять адекватные конкретные меры противодействия им. Полагаем, что столь же основательно следует искать на законодательной основе новые подходы в форме и методы в сфере борьбы с современным международным терроризмом, способы их применения на практике с учетом соблюдения прав человека. Исходя из этого, в целях усиления борьбы с международными террористическими угрозами рекомендуется широкое применение политики предотвращения, предусматривающий прежде всего широкий комплекс социально-экономических и культурно-информационных мер воздействия. В заключение хотелось бы отметить, что если нам удастся объединить и координировать международные усилия и интересы законодательства и практики, то убежден, что сможем найти оптимальные решения проблем, связанных с борьбой с международным терроризмом в условиях углубления глобализации и роста значимости региональной безопасности. Спасибо.
Thank you, sir. And the chair now recognizes Mr. Hassanov of Azerbaijan.
Благодарю, господин председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, сегодня на всем пространстве ОБСЕ наиболее актуальным вопросом остается разрешение замороженных конфликтов. Этнический сепаратизм и терроризм по-прежнему бросают вызов фундаментальным принципам ОБСЕ, правам человека, региональной безопасности и межгосударственному сотрудничеству. В этом плане урегулирование конфликта между Арменией и Азербайджаном должно быть приоритетом международного сообщества. Затягивание же процесса чревато новой вспышкой военных действий и людскими потерями. Поскольку Минская группа по урегулированию армяно-азербайджанского конфликта действует под эгидой ОБСЕ, мы полагаем, что парламентская ассамблея должна более активно подходить к обсуждению данного конфликта. Такой фундаментальный принцип, коим является принцип нерушимости границ и территориальной целостности государств, должен восторжествовать на всем пространстве ОБСЕ. Необходимо четко осознавать, что дифференцированный подход к разрешению различных конфликтов, нарушение принципа территориальной целостности государств может подорвать сами основы стабильного и целостного развития региона ОБСЕ. Азербайджан желает скорейшего урегулирования данного конфликта на основе норм международного права и выполнения резолюций, принятых Советом Безопасности ООН. Армения не выполняет резолюции Совета Безопасности ООН, грубо нарушает международное право, при этом в отношении Армении не применяются никакие санкции за проведение политики этнической чистки и оккупации территории суверенного государства. Азербайджан неоднократно заявлял о своей приверженности мирному разрешению конфликта на основе Устава ООН, Хельсинского заключительного акта и соответствующих резолюций, принятых международными организациями. Необходимость скорейшего урегулирования конфликта продемонстрировали происшедшие 3 дня назад события на линии соприкосновения огня. Общественность Азербайджана глубоко шокирована и крайне возмущена гибелью мирных жителей. У всех возникает вопрос, в чем была вина 2-летней девочки, которая погибла в результате обстрела. Маленькая Захра, которая была полна жизни и радости, должна была радовать одним своим существованием окружающих. На днях ее и ее бабушку похоронили. Крайне прискорбно, что все это совпало с заседанием парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ, главными темами повестки дня, которые являются безопасность, межгосударственное сотрудничество и права человека. Я уверен, что этот вопиющий факт должен заставить нас задуматься над тем, насколько важно для нас установление мира. Для того, чтобы не погибали мирные люди, дети могли бы жить и радовать своих родителей, и люди различных религиозных конфессий и национальностей могли бы жить в условиях мира и согласия. Именно в этом случае не останется повода представителям разных стран обвинять друг друга в попирании прав и свобод, соблюдении норм и принципов международного права. В завершение еще раз хотелось бы подчеркнуть, что Парламентская ассамблея ОБСЕ должна более настойчиво и принципиально подходить к вопросу соблюдения основополагающего базиса современного мироустройства, принципа территориальной целостности государств. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Jackson Lee of the United States, followed by Mr. Batelli. Ms. Jackson Lee.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you for your leadership on the presentation of the Chief Monitor of the OSCE in Ukraine. And also, I join you as you honor Joseph Stone, a monitor that lost his life because of the violence, the tense lack of adhering to the ceasefire. I think it is extremely important that we monitor the harassment that our monitors have been experiencing because their work is valuable. And I also believe it is important to recommit to safe conditions for our monitors to avoid the death like Joseph Stone. It is also important to recognize that we strongly support the rapporteur's call for Russia to reverse its illegal attempted annexation of Crimea, cease its aggression, and fully implement the Minsk agreements. And we look forward to more detailed discussion of this issue when we consider the supplementary item. I want to thank Ms. Sederfeld for her leadership as a rapporteur in this very thoughtful report. It's important to note that cybersecurity is a challenge. As a member of the cybersecurity community in the United States, I believe it is important to note that cybersecurity can be an asset, but not when you hack another country's elections that is determined to be absolutely true and you undermine elections. That is unacceptable, and I hope the OSCE will pursue that. Likewise, I would say that I am very interested in acknowledging that Turkey has accepted a number, thousands of refugees, probably millions, as I understand. And we acknowledge that. But we're also concerned about issues of freedom of expression, freedom of the concept of fundamental rights, and the fact that Turkey has now incarcerated journalists and parliamentarians. We hope in the OSCE that we'll find a way to promote democracy in many, many places that it seems to be lacking. I want to also acknowledge the value of women in conflict. It's issues that we've been working on in a number of organizations, women assisting in resolving the conflict in particular in South Sudan, which is not an issue here, but the enormous conflict between two fighting militias, and the women and children are the victims. This is a very important concept to democracy. Finally, I conclude by noting that 2017 is a centennial of the U.S. entry into World War I. In the century since, we have fought in European wars not of our own making. We defended friends and allies, as well as the very concept of defended democracy itself. We advocated freedom for all while giving refuge to many. We extended our hand to former enemies. Views of current U.S. policies may differ. They do within my own delegation. But I take a larger picture of the longer term. You will find we remain, the United States of America, as we have always been, committed to security and cooperation, peace and democracy in Europe. We hope you will join us as we continue in this session to fight for the strength of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson Lee. Mr. Batelli, followed by Mr. Voridis of Greece. Mr. Batelli, you are recognized.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Rapporteur, dear colleagues, first I would like to congratulate Margareta Sederfeld for her excellent work. But what I wanted to say is just a few words in my capacity of a special representative on Southeast Europe, which is now de facto what is called the Western Balkans. After the trip I made mid-May in some countries of the region, I wanted to propose to the approval of the Assembly an additional item on the situation and the still existing problems in the Western Balkans. But after talking with some colleagues, we opted for the proposal of some amendments on the subject to the first committee draft resolution. I would like, dear colleagues, to recommend, therefore, your support for all the amendments related to paragraph 20 and proposed by Mr. Adderhold, Lord Bowness, and myself. I think that the Western Balkan region deserves the continuous attention and the support of the Assembly. Let me also thank all the OSCE presences in the region in supporting my work and for the high appreciated role they exercise in the Western Balkans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Batelli. The chair now recognizes Mr. Voridis of Greece. Sir, you are recognized.
Thank you. It's working now?
Yes.
Okay. And let me start by thanking Margarita Sederfeld for a very interesting draft. I have to say that the thing I appreciate most here is the importance Margarita pays to the issue of terrorism. In my view, we've seen some horrible acts all over Europe the last 2 to 3 years. All the big capitals have suffered from that. We've seen attacks in Madrid, we've seen them in Paris, in Brussels, in London, practically everywhere in Germany, practically everywhere in Europe. So I think that this is the major issue that we should address the following years. And I must also recognize and congratulate the initiative taken and the decision taken by our standing committee to create, as I understand, an ad hoc committee for anti-terrorism and to start working in our assembly with the committee to see how we parliamentarians could do something, could provide some added value in this huge challenge for our societies. I think it cannot be understressed that the major thing, the main thing, the absolute priority our citizens ask from the states is security. If the states cannot guarantee security, then actually they lose their role and their, let's say, the reason of existence. So, the question is, what can parliamentarians do towards that direction? How can we address this challenge? And in my 30 seconds, let me just say that I think there are 2 areas where we can work on. The first is harmonizing legislation for counterterrorism and combating terrorism among the states. We must have a unified institutional framework that allows us to work towards that direction. And the second thing is, we should push for more cooperation among the security agencies. They are unwilling to do it. They withhold the information for themselves. They do not cooperate easily one with the other. And that, at the end of the day, results to victims, because if you do not share the information, then you cannot face the challenge. So again, Margarita, thank you very much, and Standing Committee, congratulations for this decision. I hope we can work effectively in the near future to address this huge challenge of terrorism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Voridis. The next speaker, I recognize Mr. Goser of Turkey.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to begin by thanking our Belarusian hosts for their generous hospitality and excellent organization. We appreciate and welcome Parliamentary Assembly's support to Turkey and Turkish democracy following the failed coup attempt last year. I do not want to go through all the details about the damage caused by the coup attempt and the trauma it left in our people for time considerations. However, I would like to very briefly highlight that our work to bring perpetrators to justice is ongoing. In doing so, we are attentive in striking the right balance between protecting security on one hand and protecting basic freedoms on the other, in accordance with our international obligations and national legislation. However, we find a special section on Turkey in this report, raising caution about the situation in Turkey, with a call to uphold OSCE commitments and make use of OSCE tools inappropriate. There is call on only one country to uphold OSCE commitments and make use of OSCE tools. How about other participating states? Do not they to do so as well, need to do so as well? So, we kindly call on Rapporteur Ms. Sedefeld to revisit paragraph 23 of the draft resolution and reformulate it with a call on all participating states to uphold their OSCE commitments and make use of OSCE tools. We ask for full support of all committee members to this request of amendment. Only then, we believe that our resolution would live up to its title, enhancing mutual trust and cooperation for peace and prosperity in the OSCE region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goser. I recognize the next speaker, Herr Tonnes von Germany.
Werte Kolleginnen und Kollegen, sehr geehrter Herr Vorsitzender, ich will zu einem Punkt kommen, den ich vorgestern bei der wirklich sehr außerordentlich guten Eröffnung leider vermisst habe. Viele Herausforderungen wurden genannt, eine nicht. Mir geht es um unsere Arbeit und diejenigen aus unseren Ländern, die uns dabei unterstützen. Insbesondere bei der bewaffneten Auseinandersetzung in der Ostukraine, wo es darum geht, unbewaffnet den Waffenstillstand und die Vereinbarung von Minsk zu überwachen. Ich denke an die jetzt gut 660 Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter der Special Monitoring Mission, die zunehmend Behinderungen in ihrer Arbeit ausgesetzt ist. Ich hätte es gut gefunden, wenn vorgestern im Plenum einige Worte des Dankes an diese Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter ausgesprochen worden wären und wenn es einen Moment des Gedenkens an dem bei der Minenexplosion am 23.04. ums Leben gekommenen amerikanischen Staatsangehörigen und die beiden verletzten Mitarbeiter aus Tschechien und aus Deutschland gegeben hätte. Das wäre angemessen gewesen. Daher wäre ich dem Präsidium dankbar, wenn es dem Präsidium des Abschlussplenums diesen Gedanken noch einmal nahebringen würde. Das wäre ein gutes Zeichen für die, die freiwillig und unbewaffnet helfen wollen, zum Frieden zu kommen. Bundeskanzlerin Merkel, Russlands Außenminister Lavrov und der Außenminister Österreichs, der derzeitige Vorsitzende der OSZE, Herr Kurz, haben volle Aufklärung der Minenexplosion vom April 2017 gefordert. Was ist daraus geworden? Des Weiteren lassen uns die Berichte aus der Region wissen, dass insbesondere im Separatistengebiet für die Special Monitoring Mission der Zugang erschwert wird. Mit Schusswaffen werden sie teilweise bedroht und es hat Fälle des Beschusses von OSZE-Fahrzeugen gegeben. Beobachtungsdrohnen wurden abgeschossen und ebenso wurden Kameras zerstört. Die objektiven Daten der Special Monitoring Mission sagen uns, dass 80% dieser Aktionen aus dem Separatistengebiet kommen und dort stattfinden. Wenn schon der russische Botschafter, der Sonderbeauftragte Herr Gryslov, Anforderungen der Separatisten an die Special Monitoring Mission zur Koordinierung überbringt, so zeigt dies die engen Bindungen von Russland und deren Einflussmöglichkeiten auf die Separatisten. Es wäre gut, wenn Russland das auch so wahrnehmen würde, dass die Special Monitoring Mission nicht in ihrer Arbeit behindert wird durch die Separatisten. Allerdings gilt auch, wenn 80% der Behinderung aus dem Separatistengebiet kommen, dann müssen 20% von der anderen Seite kommen. Ich appelliere daher an die Kolleginnen und Kollegen aus Russland und aus der Ukraine, ihren ganzen Einfluss so geltend zu machen, dass die OSZE-Mitarbeiter ihre Aufgaben ungefährdet von den bewaffneten Gruppen diesseits und jenseits der Kontaktlinie nachgehen können, ohne um ihr Leben zu bangen. Die OSZE-Mitarbeiter müssen wissen, dass wir an ihrer Seite stehen. Wer sie bedroht und angreift, greift auch die Parlamentarische Versammlung der OSZE an.
Thank you, Mr. Tons. And now I call Mr. Rizak of the Russian Federation. You have the floor.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, мы не можем разделить эпитеты в адрес проекта резолюции госпожи Söderfeld. И вот почему. Мы собрались здесь, согласно повестке, вырабатывать коррективные меры, чтобы укрепить мир, порядок на пространстве ОБСЕ, абстрагироваться от политических клише, которые нам по-прежнему навязывают некоторые наши коллеги. Помимо тех угроз и систем безопасности, о которых мы говорим, я практически не услышал такой угрозы явной. Это угроза возрождения фашизма, национализма и нацизма на пространствах ОБСЕ. Вот об этом госпожа Söderfeld старательно умалчивает. И я вам скажу, что Российская Федерация неоднократно, ежегодно вносила на различных уровнях международных форумов предложения относительно выработки резолюций по этим назревшим вызовам всему человечеству. Это и борьба с терроризмом, это противодействие героизации нацизма. И каждый раз уклончивая позиция Украины, даже по последней резолюции, которая была принята в ООН на 71-й сессии, 136 государств поддержали, уклонились только Соединенные Штаты и Украина. А ведь на самом деле на Украине сейчас находят пристанище остатки игиловских сторонников, представителей других террористических организаций, и мы этого не видим. Мы видим, что и власть держится только на пропаганде идеи нацизма, и мы тоже этого не видим. Здесь очень объемно и очень емко говорил об этом господин Шуфрич. А в то же время реальность, действительность другая. В Крыму народ, крымско-татарский народ, который составляет 12% населения, вздохнул по-настоящему. Мы, наверное, забыли, когда международные институты еще 3 года назад фиксировали нарушение прав этого народа, а сейчас этого нет. Мы преодолели кризис, переходный период закончился, Крым побеждает, по всем направлениям экономика развивается, дружба и сотрудничество находят реальное воплощение. Приезжайте, госпожа Söderfeld, и своими глазами убедитесь, что Крым живет полнокровной, полноценной жизнью. Вот это надо видеть, вот эти моменты надо нам учитывать в своей работе. В то же время я хотел бы сказать и о другом. Мы не видим, что польская сторона сейчас пересматривает некоторые исторические страницы, могилы наших советских воинов подвергаются гонениям. Вот об этом надо тоже говорить. Мы смотрим, что военный потенциал в Европе нарастает, сегментарно растет система ПРО Соединенных Штатов Америки. Об этом тоже надо думать. А мы сбиваемся на второстепенные какие-то политические клише. Не надо быть вечно вчерашними. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you, Mr. Rizak. And now I recognize our last speaker, Mr. Pirstuk of Belarus.
Спасибо, господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Существующая система европейской безопасности создавалась в конце 80-х, 90-х годов прошлого века после окончания Холодной войны, когда превалировал дух сотрудничества, способствующий выработке ключевых документов нашей организации во всех измерениях безопасности. Сегодня, как, к сожалению, показывает в том числе и текущая дискуссия, мы наблюдаем обратную картину. Вместо укрепления доверия и диалога множатся разделительные линии. Происходит наращивание военных потенциалов, в том числе вблизи границ друг друга. Это ведет к милитаризации региона и неизбежному росту напряженности на фоне продолжающейся эрозии военно-политических механизмов, контроля над вооружениями и мер укрепления доверия и безопасности. Мы так и не избавились от синдрома холодной войны и не смогли до конца уйти от блокового мышления. В международных отношениях по-прежнему доминирует право силы и санкционное мышление. Идет деградация с таким трудом выстроенной архитектуры европейской безопасности. Итоговая декларация Астанинского саммита 2010 года, принятая лидерами наших стран, предусматривает построение на пространстве ОБСЕ сообщества всеобъемлющей, основанное на сотрудничестве и неделимой безопасности. Документ гласит, что оно должно обеспечить все государства-участники в евроатлантическом и евразийском регионе свободным от разделительных линий, конфликтов, сфер влияния и зон с разными уровнями безопасности. Какие шаги следует предпринять, чтобы приблизить достижение этой цели? Необходимо снизить градус конфронтации, не допускать раскручивания спирали гонки вооружений, работать над повышением взаимного доверия в военной сфере. Уверены, что равная и неделимая безопасность не может быть достигнута накачиванием военных мускулов. Обеспечивать стабильность, предсказуемость и транспарентность в военной сфере, укреплять безопасность без наращивания военных потенциалов и военного присутствия должны режимы контроля над вооружениями и меры укрепления доверия и безопасности. Отдаем себе отчет в том, что в условиях кризиса общеевропейской безопасности вряд ли можно рассчитывать на быстрые подвижки в разработке нового жизнеспособного режима контроля над обычными вооружениями в Европе и модернизации военно-политического инструментария ОБСЕ. В то же время восстановление доверия и последующий прогресс на данных направлениях невозможны без взаимоуважительного и равноправного диалога. Принципиальным моментом является необходимость вовлечения в него всех 57 государств-участников, то есть обеспечение инклюзивности. В противном случае мы рискуем вернуться к предыдущим переговорным форматам, несущим отпечаток блокового подхода. Примером эффективного объединения усилий государств-участников в борьбе с общими вызовами является деятельность ОБСЕ в сфере противодействия транснациональным угрозам. Приветствуем принятие в Минске решения об учреждении в рамках ПАО ОБСЕ Комитета по противодействию терроризму. Уверены, что его работа будет способствовать усилению вклада нашей Ассамблеи в борьбу с этой чумой 21 века, жертвами которой в последние годы стали многие тысячи невинных людей по всему миру. Хотели бы выразить признательность специальному представителю ПАО ОБСЕ по борьбе с терроризмом Николаю Ковалеву за его активные усилия по удержанию данной важнейшей темы в фокусе внимания Ассамблеи и призвать коллег-депутатов поддержать предложение российской делегации весьма актуальный и содержательный проект резолюции об усилении роли ОБСЕ и противодействии терроризму. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you. I must now close the general debate. If there is time available, we may be able to return briefly to the general debate after the debate on the amendments and before the vote on the draft resolution. We will now move to consider the amendments submitted to the draft resolution. 33 amendments have been tabled, and copies of the amendment have been made available. The correct version of the draft resolution is entitled AS17 DRS1. In discussing the amendments, I will call the proposer of the amendment or amendments first, and then will call any opponent of the amendment. I will then ask the sponsor of the draft the resolution, Mrs. Sederfeld, for her opinion. Following that, I shall put the amendment to the vote. In the interest of time, if there is a very clear majority in a vote on an amendment, I will announce the result only. Where the vote looks to be close, I will announce the numbers of voting for, voting against, and abstaining from the vote. In the event that an oral amendment is proposed, it will be dealt with in accordance with paragraph 10 of Rule 22 of our Rules of Procedures. First, I will ask whether there is any objection to the oral amendment being considered. If there is any objection, the oral amendment cannot be considered, and it falls. If there is no objection, we will proceed to consider the amendment in the same ways as other amendments. That is, we will hear from the proposer of the oral amendment, one speaker against the oral amendment, and the opinion of the rapporteur. We will then decide by a simple majority vote whether to adopt the oral amendment. I call now Mr. Belgin of Turkey to propose Amendment 1.
Thank you. Today, OSCE region is faced with a multitude of threats and challenges. The threat posed by terrorism has reached unprecedented levels. Unfortunately, no country in our region is immune from terrorism anymore. In addition, Turkey underwent a serious challenge to democracy last year on July 15 with the terrorist group attempt organized by FETÖ terrorist organization. This attempt, aiming to overthrow the democratically elected government, the president, and the constitutional order, caused the severest trauma for our people. Plotters massacred civilians, attacked the presidency, bombarded the parliament, and tried to assassinate the president, causing the death of 249 persons, including 181 civilians. While fighting against the FETÖ terrorist organization, we are also resolute in our continued fight against other terrorist organizations, PKK, DAESH, and the HKPC. I should add that in the course of PKK's terrorist campaign since July 2015, 343 civilians and 929 security personnel were murdered in 2,308 civilians were wounded. When it comes to terrorism threat in the OSCE region, no specific country should be singled out. However, the failed coup attempt on July 15 was extraordinary in demonstrating how terrorist organizations can even attempt to overthrow democratically elected governments in addition to attacking civilians. Thus, we request a rewarding in this paragraph to read the threats faced by Turkey. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 1? What is Ms. Sederfeldt's opinion of the amendment?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am against the amendment, and I am that because the wording in my paragraph talk about the situation in Turkey. And from OSCE, we do really understand the problem in Turkey and support Turkey in its fight against terrorism. But we do also support the freedom of expression and regret a high number of elected parliamentarians who are arrested. And the wording, situation in Turkey, it includes both the support but also what we request Turkey to respond to. So I am against the amendment number 1. Thanks.
All right. The proponent of the amendment has spoken. Mrs. Sederfeldt has given her position, and we are now ready to vote. Do delegates have voting cards ready? Will all in favor of Amendment 1 please raise the voting cards?
Against mi diyor?
All opposed, please raise your voting cards. The vote is clear. The amendment is defeated. I now call on Mr. Pirshtuk from Belarus to propose amendment number 2. You are recognized, sir.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, структурированный диалог, запущенный в апреле 2017 года в соответствии с декларацией Гамбургского СМИТ ОБСЕ от Лиссабона до Гамбурга, декларацией о 20-летии концептуальной базы ОБСЕ для контроля над вооружениями, вне всякого сомнения, на данный момент является ключевым процессом ОБСЕ, нацеленным на восстановление атмосферы доверия между государствами-участниками. Этот вопрос станет одной из центральных тем для обсуждения в ходе неформальной встречи министров иностранных дел государств-участников ОБСЕ в Маурбахе под Веной 11 июля 2017 года. Полагаю, что мы, как парламентарии, должны высказать поддержку этому процессу и всячески способствовать его успешному продвижению в рамках нашей организации. В этой связи мы предлагаем включить в текст проекта резолюции соответствующий параграф. Спасибо.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 2? Does anyone seek to be recognized? If not, Mrs. Setterfeld, what is your opinion regarding amendment number 2?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendment number 2. Thanks.
Thanks for that lengthy explanation of your support for amendment number 2, Ms. Setterfeld. With that sort of help, we'll move right along in the debate. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of amendment number 2, please raise your voting cards. Cards down. Those opposed to amendment number 2, and the amendment is adopted. We now move to amendment number 3. And I call on Mr. Pirshtuk from Belarus to propose his amendment number 3.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, третья поправка, она, по сути, вытекает из второй. Мы чисто стилистически предлагаем чуть-чуть ее изменить, о чем я говорил в параграфе номер предыдущем. Спасибо.
Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 3? Ms. Setterfeld, what is your opinion of the amendment?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendments. Thanks.
Will all of those in favor of amendment 3 please raise their voting cards? And cards down, those opposed to the amendment, and there are none, and the amendment number 3 is adopted. Now, amendments 4 and 5 both relate to paragraph 5 and the Helsinki Final Act. I will therefore group the amendments together for discussion as allowed under Rule 22.7 of the Rules of Procedure. Please note that if Amendment 4 is agreed to, Amendment 5 will be preempted and will not be put to a vote. I call on Mr. Guliev from Azerbaijan to speak to amendment number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to withdraw my amendment to the paragraph under consideration. I do it with the understanding that the original version proposed by distinguished rapporteur reflects the spirit of my amendment, which is enduring importance of adherence to the principles of Helsinki Final Act in interstate relations in the OECD area. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to thank all my friends and colleagues who supported these amendments and put their signature. And of course, I invite the committee to support the paragraph as it is proposed by the rapporteur. Thank you.
If delegates will bear with me for one moment. Without objection, Mr. Guliev's amendment number 4 is withdrawn. And I now call on Ms. Nagadalian of Armenia to speak to her amendment number 5.
Thank you, President. Dialogue aimed at our coming current situation in European security should be based on all our commitments. It should not be selective approach towards principles of Helsinki Final Act. Helsinki Final Act clearly establishes that all 10 principles are of equal force. Mentioning one principle and omitting the other one damages all principles in their entirety, since creates an atmosphere of non-compliance. Therefore, we didn't suggest to move any principle if you have enlisted in the draft resolution, be it territorial integrity or non-interference. But we are proposing to include missing one, the equal rights and self-determination of peoples. If we want the Parliamentary Assembly to be perceived as impartial mechanism of conflict resolution, we cannot curtail principles of Helsinki Final Act. We ask our colleagues to support this proposal. Thank you.
What is the position of the distinguished rapporteur with regard to amendment number 5?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am against the amendment number 5. The first part of it about equal rights, it's something that OSCE stand behind. But when we are talking about self-determination, it's a very vague word, and I must say that it's not regulated. It's very easy to misunderstand. It's easy to change also if it's self-determination and who is making the decision, is it changing or so. That's why I am against paragraph 5. And we have also been against the wording of self-determination in other, in former years. So it's nothing new. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Setterfeld. The chair neglected to ask if anyone wished to speak against amendment number 5, so I will go back to that part of the procedure. Does anyone wish to be recognized as speaking against amendment number 5? Yes, the delegate from Ukraine is recognized for 1 minute.
We oppose this amendment and propose to retain the original text of the paragraph. For sure, Helsinki Final Act stipulates the right for self-determination of people, acting at all times in line with norms of international law, in particular the territorial integrity of states. Justifying this armed intervention to Crimea, for example, the Russian Federation organized a fake referendum, manipulating the established norms. This referendum was conducted after occupation of our Crimea by military and paramilitary forces, without any international observers, under military control, and against all the international standards. The current amendment could provoke continuation of such practices.
Thank you very much. Now we have already received the opinion of Ms. Setterfeld. Are you ready to vote? The question is whether amendment number 5 should be adopted. Those in favor, please raise your voting cards. Cards down. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. And the issue is not in doubt. The amendment is defeated. Thank you, fellow delegates, for your cooperation. I now call on Mr. Guliev from Azerbaijan to propose amendment number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The proposal is based on the Helsinki Declaration of 2015 and reflects the agreed position of the Parliamentary Assembly regarding the settlement of the protracted conflicts. After 2 years of its adoption, these conflicts still remain unsettled, posing serious threat to peace and security. Therefore, the OSCPA, in addition to paying attention to specific conflicts, should reiterate its principled position regarding the fundamental basis for conflict settlement. Its spirit and content is fully in line with overall objective of the resolution and resonate its aim to contribute to solution of problems facing the OSCE area. I call on my colleagues to support my amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who wishes to speak against amendment number 6? The delegate from Armenia is recognized for 1 minute.
Коллеги, затяжные конфликты должны быть разрешены на основе принципов Хельсинского заключительного акта. Это однозначно. Разные конфликты имеют разный характер и поэтому требуют разного подхода и разных принципов. Или мы ссылаемся на каждый конфликт отдельно, как это было сделано докладчиком, или если мы ссылаемся на затяжные конфликты в целом, то мы должны ссылаться на принципы Хельсинского заключительного акта в целом, перечисляя все принципы без исключения. Данное предложение ссылается на затяжные конфликты в целом, но в вопросе перечисления принципов мы видим селективный подход. Наши коллеги из Азербайджана упустили в своем предложении один принцип Хельсинского заключительного акта, а именно принцип равноправия и права народов на самоопределение, который признан всеми государствами и участниками ОБСЕ в Министерской декларации Афин как один из принципов, на котором должны основываться урегулирование Нагорно-Карабахского конфликта. Поэтому данное предложение, на мой взгляд, не соответствует обязательствам и принципам ОБСЕ. Я прошу коллег отвергнуть это предложение. Спасибо.
Thank you. And what is Ms. Sederfeld's opinion of the amendment?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendment, and I am that because it's discussed and talk about the way forward to find solutions for the frozen conflicts that are in our area. Of course, it's needed that all parts are involved and agree to find to solve the conflicts. But I am in favor of the paragraph, and also as before, the self-determinations. I am not in favor of that word, not that I'm not in favor of the people's will, but the self-determination is a very difficult wording. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Sederfeld. The chair will now put amendment number 6 to the vote. Are you ready to vote? Those in favor of amendment number 6, please raise your voting cards. Lower your voting cards, please. Those opposed to amendment number 6, raise your voting cards. And the amendment is agreed to and adopted. Thank you for your cooperation. We now move to amendment number 7. I call Ms. Katsarava from Georgia to propose amendment number 7. Ma'am, you are recognized. Well, we've had some technical problems. We're bringing a microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to join my colleagues and thank the rapporteur for the interesting and comprehensive report. Concerning the amendment, it is stemming from the text of the draft resolution itself, and as the preamble of the draft overused the state of play of the existing conflicts in the OSCE area, particularly mentioning Nagorno-Karabakh and conflict and crisis in and around Ukraine, it is important that conflict in Georgia is also reflected in the document. So we would like to ask the rapporteur and everybody here to vote in favor of the amendment that we proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone seek recognition to speak against amendment number 7? Then what is the opinion of the rapporteur?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendment. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of the amendment, raise your voting cards. Thank you. Please lower your cards. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. And the amendment is agreed to and adopted. Are there any abstentions? I've been neglecting to ask for abstentions. I'll be reminded of that in the future. And we now move to amendment number 8. I call on Mr. Sondergaard from Denmark to propose amendment number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, this amendment is noting a fact that the Turkish referendum of April 16, 2017 fell short of international standards for a fair and free election according to international observers from ODIHR and Council of Europe PA. There were several reasons for that. We have heard some of them already today. MPs jailed, newspapers closed, journalists arrested, not a fair distribution of speaking time in television up to the election. Election laws even changed at the election day. Of course, this cannot be a free and fair election. So what we are doing today is dealing with a report on enhancing mutual trust in the OSCE region. And of course, we have to take note of such a situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wishes to speak against amendment number 8? The delegate from Turkey is recognized.
Thank you. We are against this proposal. On 16th April 2070, or 85% of the Turkish electorate, almost 50 million people, have cast their votes in a nation referendum. The majority of the voters voted yes for the proposed constitutional change, a single executive branch checked by the legislative and judiciary. The vote came at the end of the long public debate and ensuingly constituted democratic race. The high turnout rate of 85% merits particular appreciation. Respect to the will of the people is a sine qua non, absolute quality of democracy. The outcome reflects that will. We consider election monitoring an indispensable instrument for enhancing democratic standards and sharing good practice among OSCE participant states. With the spirit of cooperation and transparency, OSCE, ODIHR, and Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe were invited to observe the referendum despite the fact there is no OSCE commitment to observe referenda. However, we faced with a clearly biased approach based on prejudices. The accusatory statements of the observers and the report itself were politically motivated and do not comply with the mandate of monitoring mission as well as international standards. Moreover, it has been revealed that some members of Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe Observation Mission had close ties with terrorist organization PKK. A report drafted by the suggestions of such observers is unacceptable. The report contains analyses and recommendations that are both politically motivated and far from being objective. It is not possible to make an objective assessment based on this report. So, we call for the rejection of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. What is Ms. Sederfeldt's opinion of the amendment number 8?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to say I agree with the substance. I find the substance very relevant. But OSCE PA didn't take part in the election mission. And I am very, very sorry for that, because I was one of those who was in favor that we should take part in the election mission. But it was a decision done by our leadership that we shouldn't take part. And therefore, it's very, very difficult for us in an organization to evaluate the result of two other organizations when we were not there. And I find that very sad. But if we start to evaluate the result of other organizations, think if they said that they didn't find anything, and we rely on that. It could be the other side. We have to be there as an organization who do election missions, and we have a huge trust and reliability in our work as election observers. And that's why I am against this paragraph. But I must underline again, I agree on the substance. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Sederfeld. Are members ready to vote? Would all of those in favor of amendment number 8 please raise your voting cards? Would the clerks count?
Okay, we will have to count. In the middle. No, how many in that 34 total?
Okay, lower your voting cards, and would those opposed to amendment number 8 please raise your voting cards and keep them raised. We have a vote of 34 in favor and 12 against. The amendment is agreed to. Are there abstentions? Eight abstentions. Thank you. Lower your voting cards. I appreciate the cooperation of the delegates in giving us a few extra moments at the desk. We now move to amendment number 9, and I call on Lord Bowness from the United Kingdom to propose his amendment number 9. Sir, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I spoke in the debate on the draft resolution yesterday and endorsed the concern expressed in that report that governments of European states are in danger of not giving enough attention to what appears to be the deteriorating situation in some of the countries of the region. And we've seen, and I repeat myself, I'm afraid, we've seen rising ethnic tensions, nationalism, political deadlocks, and foreign interference with the rights of individual nations to choose their own destiny and alliances. This, I think, is a matter of concern, and I think it's important that our governments and these organizations such as ours are made aware of the situation and are put in a position of being able to take action to reverse these trends. And it's for this reason that I propose this amendment and indeed other amendments before you. Thank you.
Who wishes to speak against amendment number 9? Ms. Sederfeld, what is your position?
I am in favor of the amendment. Thanks.
Are members ready to vote on amendment number 9? If so, those in favor, please raise your voting cards. Cards down. Those opposed, raise your voting cards. And cards down. Are there abstentions? Are there abstentions? Thank you. And the amendment is adopted. We now move to amendment number 10. Mr. Ryzhak of the Russian Federation. Let me see. Mr. Guliev of Azerbaijan is recognized to propose his amendment number 10. And that will be followed by amendment number 11 by Mr. Ryzhak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The proposed amendment aims at further strengthening the paragraph dedicated to the issue of high importance, along with ongoing dire humanitarian situation related to IDPs and refugees. Realization of their violated rights is another important dimension of the matter. The obstacles existed in realization of right of IDPs and refugees to safe and dignified return, as well as property, are of fundamental nature and should be addressed accordingly. This is internationally recognized right, reflected inter alia in the international humanitarian law, as well as in basis OSCE documents such as Budapest, Lisbon, and Istanbul Summit decisions. Therefore, further elaboration of the original paragraph with emphasis on most important rights of IDPs and refugees will add to ensure more coherence in the paragraph. I call my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And who wishes to be recognized against amendment number 10? Ms. Sederfeld, what is your opinion on amendment number 10?
I am in favor of the amendment.
Very well. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor of amendment number 10, raise your voting cards. Thank you. Please lower your cards. Are there votes against amendment number 10? Thank you, and lower your voting cards. And are there abstentions? And the amendment is adopted. The chair now calls on Mr. Ryzhak of the Russian Federation to propose his amendment number 11. Sir, you are recognized.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, вообще-то говоря, строго говоря, эти отношения находятся в рамках двухсторонних отношений между двумя договаривающимися странами, в данном случае Соединенных Штатов и России, и не входят в компетенцию ОБСЕ. Но тем не менее, коль нас обвиняют в подрыве, я позволю себе сделать некоторые комментарии. Россия была и остается приверженцем договора по СНВ и точно так же является сторонницей соблюдения договора по ракетам средней и малой дальности. Но учитывая, что нас обвиняют в этом плане, мы должны заявить, что мы только тогда можем реагировать четко, когда и наш партнер по договору соблюдает все условия. Поэтому голословное обвинение Соединенных Штатов, что мы нарушаем, не имеют под собой никакой почвы. И второе, что касается утилизации плутония. Когда Соединенные Штаты решили перейти и изменить метод утилизации, Россия не могла согласиться с этим подходом. Поэтому позвольте, мы вдвоем, две заинтересованные стороны, сумеют разобраться в этой сложной проблеме. Еще раз повторяю, это находится строго в правовом поле двух заинтересованных сторон. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you, sir. Who wishes to speak against Ms. Jackson Lee of the United States? You are recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so very much. As I indicated earlier this morning, with respect to cybersecurity used in many instances to be a defensive mechanism, unfortunately our friends in Russia use it conspicuously to interfere with the democratic process in the United States. Here, I think the words are not precisely the way I would like the words to be, because frankly, it contains some technical inaccuracy. New START hasn't broke down, but it is important to acknowledge the difficulty in pursuing these negotiations, but the overall importance of pursuing these negotiations. And I would not want this language to be deleted except for the correction that the United States is not contributing to this unfortunate breach or break, if you would suggest. But we believe in the message of the language in the report by the rapporteur, and we do believe that if you're going to be partners in dealing with North Korea, you've got to clean up your own backyard. And we think that this report, with a little correction on how it is interpreted, the United States stands ready to engage, is an important comment about our commitment to the issues of nuclear security and nuclear weapons reduction agreements between the United States and Russia and other nations of whom we're engaged in.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson Lee. What is Ms. Sederfeld's opinion of the amendment?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am against the amendment, and I am that because I think it's so important that there is a reduction of nuclear weapons, and the only way to move forward is an agreement with where the nuclear countries make agreement. And that's why I am against the amendments. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Setterfeld. I shall now put Amendment 11 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 11 please raise their voting cards? Please lower your cards. Those against, please raise their voting cards. Thank you. You may lower your voting cards. Are there abstentions? And thank you. And the amendment is defeated. We now turn to Amendment 12, and the chair calls on Ms. Bellens from Belgium to propose Amendment number 12. And we have a microphone for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It seemed appropriate to add explicitly with this amendment to which engagements this Assembly, the OSCE in general, and the participating states in particular are committed. I hope that by adding explicitly those texts, all participants get closer to each other and realize that we need these basic texts which allow us to organize the debates in a serene and a rational way. That's the reason why we add this amendment.
Thank you. And who wishes to speak against Amendment number 12? Anyone at all? Ms. Setterfeld, what is your opinion concerning Amendment number 12?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of Amendment number 12. Thanks.
Will all those in favor of Amendment number 12 please raise their voting cards? Thank you, and you may lower your cards. Are there those who wish to vote no on Amendment number 12? Please raise your voting cards. Thank you. You may lower your cards. Abstentions? And the amendment is adopted. We now turn to Amendment 13, which is authored by Mr. Aderholt of the United States. He ultimately was unable to join us for this meeting, and it is my understanding that Mr. Cohen of the United States delegation will propose Amendment 13. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
Mr. Cohen, you are recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment simply revises paragraph 20 and basically says to the political leaders in the Western Balkans to refrain from rhetoric and positions that will inflame what is a difficult situation with new countries, new borders, and ethnicities that differ and have had long-standing problems, and that to refrain from discourse that would raise political tensions and calling on people to call out and oppose statements that might cause for more conflict. Basically, kumbaya. Let's get together. Let's not set this place into another war. And I think it's a good revision of paragraph 20 and something that we should all aim for in terms of our conduct with other parties who we may disagree, but to disagree with in an agreeable fashion. And I would urge support.
Kumbaya is a famous American song. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Who wishes to speak against Amendment number 13? If not, Ms. Setterfeld, what is your opinion of Amendment number 13?
I am in favor of the amendments. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
I shall now put Amendment number 13 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 13 raise their voting cards? Thank you. You may lower your cards. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. And are there abstentions? Thank you. And Amendment number 13 is adopted. We now move to Amendment number 14. I call Mr. Batelli from Slovenia to propose his Amendment number 14. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is a matter of fact that there are groups of interest. They are the same in many countries of the region that are systematically undermining the trust in democratic procedures and democratic institutions. So we should stress that this trend has to be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Batelli. Who wishes now to speak against amendment number 14? If not, what is the opinion of the distinguished rapporteur?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of the amendment. Thanks.
I shall now put amendment number 14 to the vote. Those in favor, please raise your voting cards. Cards down. Those opposed to amendment 14, please raise your voting cards. And are there abstentions? And the amendment number 14 is agreed to. I now call on Lord Bonas from the United Kingdom to propose his amendment number 15.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President. This is one of a series of amendments. Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of a series of amendments which I have put down. I have already explained my reasons for it when I moved Amendment 19, which colleagues kindly adopted. The arguments in favor of this one are precisely the same, and I move.
Thank you. And who wishes to speak against amendment number 15? If not, what is the opinion of the rapporteur?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendments, and I also would like to underline that I am very grateful for the amendments by Mr. Batelli and Mr. Lord Bones, because they do complement the report and make it more comprehensive and updated. Thanks.
Right, okay, so we will now vote on the question of Amendment 15. Those in favor, please raise your voting cards. Cards down. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. Are there abstentions? And the amendment is adopted. We now move to Amendment 16, and I once again call on Mr. Batelli from Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the human dimension principles of the OSCE Copenhagen document is to be fully implemented.
Thank you, sir. Are there those who wish to speak against Amendment 16? What is the opinion of the rapporteur?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendments. Thanks.
Those in favor of Amendment 16, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. You may lower your cards. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. Are there abstentions? And the Amendment 16 is adopted. Mr. Batelli, you may now be recognized to present your amendment number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would kindly ask all the colleagues to listen to this. As a result of the war in BIH, over half of the 4.4 million pre-war population was displaced, with an estimated 1.1 million displaced internally and approximately 1.3 million fleeing to neighboring countries and Western Europe. Annex 7 of the Dayton Agreement was supposed to reverse this process. However, in areas of return, little has been done for the practical and sustainable reintegrations of returnees. More than half of returnees are ethnic minorities in their local communities. Consequently, they are subject to segregation and do not have equal access to rights, including the right to health care, employment, education, social care, and other rights connected with the social inclusion in the local community. The resulting prevalence of ethnic discrimination leads to a splintering of communities and prevents reconciliation. Unfortunately, the weakness of the BIH ombudsman institution, and other state-level human rights defenders, such as the BIH Ministry of Human Rights and Refugees, as well as insufficient awareness, implementation of the law on prohibition of discrimination, results in these vulnerable communities having no recourse for violations of their rights. This results in increasing frustration at a system which seems to sideline or flatly ignore their concerns. We should not legitimate ethnic cleansing.
Thank you, Mr. Batelli. Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 17? If not, what is the opinion of Ms. Sederfeld?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am in favor of the amendments.
I shall now put Amendment 17 to the vote. Will those in favor of Amendment 17 please raise their voting cards? Thank you. You may lower your cards. Those wishing to vote against, please raise your voting cards. And are there abstentions? And the Amendment 17 is adopted. I now call on Lord Bowness from the United Kingdom to propose his Amendment number 18.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President. When I moved one of my earlier amendments, I talked about the need for the governments of participating states and international organizations to raise their awareness of the situation. This amendment endorses that and makes it more explicit. I move.
Who wishes to speak against Amendment number 18? If not, what is the opinion of Ms. Sederfeld?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of the amendments. Thanks.
I shall now put Amendment 18 to the vote. Those in favor of Amendment 18, please raise your voting cards. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may lower your cards. Those opposed? And are there abstentions? And the amendment is indeed adopted. Lord Bowness, you are now recognized to present Amendment number 19.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think the amendment speaks for itself, but in moving it, I would just draw attention to the very valuable work done by the Special Representative, Mr. Batelli, in his work as Special Representative on Southeast Europe. And of course, he has been moving amendments, as I have, highlighting the situation. I think we should be grateful for the work that he does and the knowledge he brings to this particular part of the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment number 19? If not, what is the opinion of the rapporteur?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of the amendments. Thanks.
Thank you. We now move to a vote. Those in favor of Amendment 19, please raise your voting cards. Lower your voting cards. Those opposed, and those abstaining, and the amendment is indeed adopted. I now call on Mr. Kovalov from the Russian Federation to propose amendment number 20. Sir, you are recognized.
Спасибо, господин председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Данная поправка внесена в стиле той резолюции, в поддержку той резолюции, которую мы будем с вами рассматривать чуть позже. Речь идет об усилении борьбы с терроризмом и, прежде всего, о повышении роли парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ в этом важнейшем для человечества вопросе. Странно, что существует ряд стран, входящих в ОБСЕ, где в национальных законодательствах помощь террористам даже не преследуется в уголовном порядке. Поправка эта призывает вот этот изъян исправить и криминализировать в национальных законодательствах любую помощь террористам. Я подчеркиваю, любую помощь. Конечно, это касается прежде всего финансовой помощи, помощи оружием. Я просил бы вас всех поддержать эту поправку.
Thank you, Mr. Kovalov. Does anyone wish to speak against amendment number 20? If not, what is the recommendation of Ms. Sederfeld with regard to amendment number 20?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I am against the amendment. And, of course, I am in favor of defeating terrorism. I think that's one of our most important issues these days. And I am very grateful that there is a special representative on terrorism. I'm also grateful that OSCE had formed an ad hoc group on terrorism. And I wish that group to move further on. But I think it's very, very dangerous if we start to point out a certain terrorist group. There are several terrorist groups around the world. And if we put down one specific one here, that's not the way to work forward. That's why I am against the paragraph, but I look forward the group that will be done by the ad hoc group of terrorism. Thanks.
All right, I shall now put Amendment 20 to the vote. Are you ready to vote on Amendment number 20? Those in favor of Amendment 20, please raise your voting cards, and the clerks will count. Thank you, cards down. And those opposed to Amendment number 20, please raise your voting cards. And the clerks will count. The vote is 29 in favor. Thank you. Cards down. Abstentions. Thank you. You may lower your cards by a vote of 29 in favor and 20 against. The amendment is adopted. Now, the chair announces this. We have to vacate the room and move on to other matters. So we will take 2 more amendments without objection, and then we will recess until 2:30 in this room. So stay with us for 2 more amendments, and then we'll be back this afternoon. Thank you all, incidentally, for your cooperation and for moving this so expeditiously. Mr. Hastings of the United States is now recognized to present his amendment number 21.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and dear colleagues, I thank you all. This is a melancholy moment for me, having been president of this organization, and knowing so many of you and seeing the wonderful successors to many of my friends. I say melancholy because I get an opportunity to raise how we established the Mediterranean Contact Group. That was done under my predecessor, Bruce George, from the United Kingdom, largely sponsored and talked about for years in this organization by my friend from France, Michel Voisin, and supported by Gert Weiskirchen from Germany, Jerry Grafstein from Canada, João Soares from Portugal, and my dear friend, Mr. Botelli. In addition, it was unanimous that we would undertake to establish the partners, which were Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Jordan, Egypt, and Israel. I now come to you asking that we take into consideration the restoration of a unified Libya. And it was always our hope at that time that we would be able to include them in the contact group as well as Lebanon. You see, friends, ISIS and al-Qaeda have a significant presence in Libya, and ending the political turmoil there is key to eliminating them. My chair of this group, Mr. Wicker, and our delegation just before coming here were in Egypt and Athens. And among the discussions that we had there were the migration factors that all of Europe and a large part of the world are experiencing. And Libya continues to be the main departure and transit point from North Africa towards Europe. So I hope this amendment will be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. Who wishes to speak against the amendment, number 21? If not, what is Ms. Setterfeld's recommendation?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of that amendment.
Are you ready to vote on amendment number 21? If so, those in favor of amendment 21, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. You may lower your cards. Those opposed, please raise your voting cards. And are there abstentions? And the amendment is agreed to. Number 22 will be the last amendment we are able to take in this morning session. Mr. Hastings of the United States, do you wish to add to your comments in proposing amendment number 22?
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, and I'm cognizant of the time. The Mediterranean Conference last year in Vienna was titled Youth, North and South of the Mediterranean. Listen, people, there are young people all over the Mediterranean and here. If we can do something to assist them having jobs and opportunities and hope at home, they won't be coming here. Support this amendment.
Thank you. Does anyone seek recognition to speak against the amendment? If not, what is the opinion of the distinguished rapporteur?
I am in favor of the amendments. Thanks.
And those in favor, we now move to a vote. Those in favor, raise your cards. Please lower your cards. Those opposed, please raise your cards. And are there abstentions? And there are none, and the amendment is adopted. Let me, before we recess, let me also add my appreciation, along with those of the rapporteur and Lord Bonas, for the excellent work that Mr. Batelli of Slovenia has done in his area of expertise. Sir, we're all grateful for the contribution you've made. At that point, we now stand in recess until 2:30 this afternoon in this very room. Thank you.